Welcome to the Your Message Received podcast. And now, taking your message to the finish line, your host, John Duffin.
John Duffin here with Duffin Media. Welcome back to another episode of Your Message Received. Your Message Received is the place, the home, to help you find your best, most true, most authentic business voice. Hell, your most authentic voice. Get what you want, find what you need, improve your results, increase sales, make $1 billion, meet the person of your dreams. I can't guarantee those last 2 points, but we're working on that. But the other ones I feel pretty good about. And we're thrilled that you keep watching us on YouTube, listening to us on Spotify, iHeartMedia, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. And I think the main reason that you keep coming back is that I'm lucky enough to bring really good people who walk the walk, who understand the power of authenticity. And folks, today is no exception. This starts a little bit for me as a work reunion and then progresses to a lot of great places. Folks, you probably already know her. And if you're in Philadelphia, there's no question that you do. But I get to introduce today a really, really good person. Philly's Oprah, Shelly Shell Williams. Welcome so much to the show.
Hey, hi, John Duffin. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. Like you said, it is a reunion of work. Yes. How about that? Woo.
Right?
Woo.
It's the best. It's the best. Folks, just as a quick preview. So my first job in Philadelphia, I had a brief 3-month stretch in Atlantic City in radio sales. But my first job in television was close to 30 years ago. It actually was in 1992. And I went to work for an independent television station that had technically not started yet. And that was WGTW TV. And I, to this day, credit the founder and the president, God rest her soul, Dorothy Brunson, who gave me my first opportunity. And guess what? My guest today is part of that alumni of WGTW TV. And folks, there's a whole lot more to that as well, too. So it's not just a music expert, a live events aficionado, a television host, an interviewer, a radio host, a columnist, a writer, a public speaker, an ad sales guru. That's a lot. All pulled together in this incredible amount of power and energy and kindness. So it's right off the bat, I would ask you, when you're juggling so many hats, so many balls, are you able to identify a favorite or a preference of all the things that you do? The things or does that vary?
I would have to say interviews is my favorite. It's something I would do for free. They say when you do it for free, that means that's what you would do. So yeah, I would do it for free. I just did 30 interviews in 30 days for free.
Folks, if you are following on social media and you will find the links for Shelly Shell Williams, you will find her social links. The good news is those interviews, they're live interviews, but they're still on the platform, right? We could go back to the interviews and see them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is ridiculously effective because I know the homework that my guest does. I know the professionalism, and to bang out 30 interviews in 30 days to me is alarming. Let alone talk about impressed. How do you prep? How do you do that kind of homework? Walk us through the process of right there. So at the very most recent, you've just banged out 30 interviews, 30 guests, 30 days. How do you do it?
Well, this series was focused on giving the gift of knowledge. Going into the holiday season, so many people are buying so many things. And I feel like if they gave the gift of knowledge, you're giving something that lasts forever. So I just went into I've just been in the circle of speakers, consultants, authors. That's the circle that I'm in. So they just came to me. It was like I knew exactly who I was going for. Some
Mm-hmm.
of them I didn't. Some of them came along the way, but I had specifics in mind. Like I know who I'm going for, and it was just all about people I knew that could give the knowledge and help people them know it's possible. That's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Possible was the most important thing. There were people who've done some impossible things that would have seemed impossible. They made it possible. So I just wanted to give the hope, not just the knowledge, but hope for the holiday season. And whoever, even if you don't celebrate the holidays, just understand that it's possible. And that's what it was all about.
So I love that. So when you're prepping for an interview, and whether it is 30 and 30 or the general process, do you typically have, you just said the intention of this entire like program sequence was giving the gift of knowledge, but do you typically have any sort of a system or a way that you approach or attack like an interview process? Do you have an intention? How does that work?
The funniest thing is while I was doing this, the goal was to create a course out of it. So I created a 30-day course because it's really a growth strategy. But when I go to do interviews, I really don't research the person. I don't go into the history. I may do like a quick glance at their bio, like a quick glance. But my goal is to say, if I can get the information out of that person, just like it was a regular conversation, just like how you would date someone, you get the information out. My goal is to get information out and have the conversation that people want to have. So I don't do a lot of research, and I really do every question off the top of my head.
So as you're going, and I love this. So like folks, I you know what? I'm gonna take several steps backwards because I think that in fairness, I think this story, like I said, plays out so powerfully. So when I watch you on camera now, I feel like you just ooze ease and confidence. By the way, I also think you ooze appreciation. I always feel like you really appreciate who you're speaking with. And I think that comes through anytime I see you. I was talking to you earlier this afternoon in terms of the prep part and to begin the process. So you could think that this person, this is how she's always been, and it's always been easy, and it's always been natural. And I see you that expression on your face.
No.
Folks, I'm going to encourage you to see one of the cooler things that I have seen, really powerfully done, is when you go to Shelly's website. It's one of the very first things that hits you on that website, and it's called Self-Reflections. And I can't believe I've known you as long as I've known you, and I never saw that piece before. What gave you the guts to do that? And then we'll talk about what it is. But what gave you the guts to put that up front and center?
Because it was real. It was really me. It was really what I was going through. I just I just came from working in corporate and advertising in corporate. One of my first like launches into that world, and then I was laid off. And so I just, and I wanted to launch my business in the right way. And I learned so much. I was like, I'm going to launch with the realness of what I feel and able to really, because I do believe in the power of self-reflection. And you can't know who you have to reflect when you get laid off from, when I got laid off, my thought was, when I was sitting across from the HR person, I said, am I being punked? No, I'm being punked because this wasn't happening. Because not that I felt like I was the most valuable player, but I really did think I was the most valuable player, and I just felt like I was being punked. So I had to reflect on it because on who I was and what was going on, because I thought it was quite unbelievable. I didn't ask for the job; they gave it to me. They came to me. I was an entrepreneur, and I thought, hey,
and
I was
you
like,
got
hey, this is an offer I cannot refuse.
I love that you did that, but what I love even more is the fact that you really put your past out there. You really like things I honest to God I didn't know, and so as it's I think one of the true marks of authenticity is when you can really 100% put yourself out there. Most people don't, and most people can't, or they don't have the time or the bravery. So what I'm alluding to, folks, as you are listening and watching, is the sense that Shelly is taking on a dual role, which is impressive. I'm embarrassed to say it took me a second to realize that was you in both parts, but I digress.
Whoa.
I'll get my own vision check better. I'm thinking you're literally speaking to a therapist, but you're talking about yourself at a very young age, and you're talking about that sense of excelling in certain ways and not feeling as comfortable and confident in other ways. Care to disclose that in any way, or would you rather,
Well, yeah, I don't mind this. So when I was a child, I grew up as a plus size child, and it affected me in so many different ways, confidence wise. I was scared of everything. So I spoke on a story of when I walked into the brownies. You know how we have Girl Scouts and brownies, and I walked in with my cousin, and I instantly looked. And I never ran so fast. I ran out of there so fast that I did not understand. Don't pass go. Just get me out of here. I'll never do it again. I'll never do this again. And my thought was, it's not that anything bad happened. It was that it was a different environment. I'd been teased a lot in my as a child. So I'm thinking, look at all these kids. They're going to tease me again. And it was more of them, and they were different. And I mean, of course, as an African American, and then honestly, most of them were white. So, and I just was like, oh my goodness, I don't know how this is going to be. So I ran out of there because I was in fear. So a lot of times I lived my life in fear. I let fear stop me from so many things. I mean, fear stopped me from joining the cheerleading team. And I knew I was good. I knew I could dance. I knew I had what it takes. I honestly, in my head, I'm like, you can crush it. It. But as I was walking down the hallway to get ready to go, I changed my mind. Once again, it was I'm on my way, but when I made a U-turn and didn't go, I played the flute. And I was great. Not that I'm saying I'm great, but I literally was great at. I played solos and everything, but I was scared to walk into who I was. I felt like, I'll be looked at as a nerd. I won't be one of the cool kids. So I'm going to quit, even though I had private flute lessons all of my life. So that means my mother's money went wasted.
Well, you see what happened to Lizzo, and it's like, and that could have been you.
Yeah,
I mean, my God, she's playing diamond encrusted flutes on concert stages of 20,000 plus people.
Exactly my thoughts as I see it every time.
Right? But see, this is the part where this is why it's important, I think, to bring this stuff out, because I know you're not alone. I know you're not all by yourself. I had different reasons of feeling all twisted and shy and less than. You were like saying, Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts. I never progressed beyond Cub Scouts because I felt out of place too, for different reasons, but I felt out of place. So I love the fact that you share that, because trust us, folks, if you're listening, you ain't all by yourself on this one. You just aren't. But you end that video with talking about pushing past fear, and forgive the hand gesture. It's like, but I feel like it's such a powerful way that you talk about it. How have you, like, then when was the first time you realized, I'll say it better. When was the first time that you realized I can push past that and get something that I want?
When did I realize? That's a good question. I'm gonna reflect on this. The other day, which was Sunday, I hosted a conference. So I hosted the conference all weekend, and I had this conversation with somebody, and they were asking me, they were saying they were shy, and I said, for this moment, I have to tell you, this is the first time that I've actually got on this stage without any fear in my heart, without any fear, any doubt. There was never, like, normally I am petrified and I'm always going through it. But I said, wow, I just had to reflect that I didn't fear it was no fear. There was no, when I got on that stage, I didn't feel like I'm not good enough. I didn't feel like, I just felt like I know what I'm doing, and this is what I'm called to do. And then it just realized, wow, at that moment, I realized, wow, the fear is gone. Wow. Not that we won't feel fear in other ways, but that particular stage fear, you talk about, we came from WGTW, we came from a TV show, we came from Urban Expressions, and in that, I wasn't the front runner, I was the back. And when they said go on to camera, I went to the back. Like, I was like, oh no, no. That was me for years. Yeah. And that held me back from a lot of money. Like, they asked me, I was asked to host things, and I said no. I said no. I have a team. I have a team that does that. How about you hire one of my team? And so I'm pushing the team. So when it's time for me to become the brand, as so to speak, I had to build the brand like anybody else. I'm like, wait a minute. You did yourself a disservice by saying no all those times, because now you need to do this. Now you need the money. Clearly you need the money. You get laid off. You need some money now. But listen, lady, you need money.
Right. But to give you credit, you were navigating in the part of, so folks, again, not even if you're from Philadelphia, because this carries a lot more reputation than Philadelphia, a lot more, but it began in Philadelphia, and it began in a television station in the Manayunk section of Philadelphia. And to your credit, Shelly, you were expected with oh my God, the tiniest of small teams. Ed Brunson, if you're listening to this, major shout out. And thank you. But I would add, talking about a tiny team, you're expected to, I can't even say this without laughing, because I remember I'm the salesperson and the sales manager. And I just remember there's this show going on in the back of the building. I don't know what the hell's going on. And there's like 5 people, God, maybe less, that are not just getting the guests, formatting the show, going on camera, doing interviewing, showing up at clubs, finding new music, selling the ad time. And that
was my gift.
That was all of it. So
no, but the major thing was the selling the ad time. Yeah. So the fact that I'm talking to John Duffin, who was the head of sales, and it was like, all right, I'm doing exactly what you do, but with this one show. Yeah. And I had no prior, no prior. No one told me, no one showed me, there was nothing. I watched you. I watched you, and I watched Stephanie Contino, and I watched you. Honestly, you didn't know I'm watching you, but I'm watching you because I have this show, and I'm like, I want to sell this show. And I didn't realize I love sales, and I don't talk about the sales part that much, but I didn't realize how much I loved it until I was like, all right, I'm getting everybody in the city to advertise on this show, and I was succeeding in the whole thing.
Shelly, I find there's one more example, and this is decades when this began. This is decades ago when this started. That one more opportunity where you shoved fear out of the way. So you had no sales experience. You're watching, and thank you. That's very kind. And Stephanie Contino is great, so I get that. But I was going to say, it really kind that you say it, but shoving fear out of the way. So also, you talked about that on-camera part, and you'd stand in the back, or I've got a team, or all that sort of thing. But I got to say, one of the things, look, we'll name drop for a minute, and then we'll just go right past all that stuff. You interviewed some seriously big people, and whether they were breaking or just broke or about to break, it is crazy to me the caliber of stars. Throw me a couple, and I will throw one if you can't. Like I said again, that I'm blown away with who you were able to speak with.
I have spoken with Steve Harvey, Kevin Hart, Will Smith, Richard Roundtree, which is an iconic.
Oh my God, the original Shaft.
That's iconic right there. Spoken with Jay-Z.
I was going to throw him if you weren't. I was throwing him. So good. I'm pleased.
I know, because that's the one, when it comes to the status in the music business, we're like, he's one of the billionaires. But P. Diddy, with Sean, whatever name you want to give him, Master P. I can't. It's a bunch. It's a bunch. and when I say spoken to, some of them were actually me being the person with the microphone, but I'm the person who set everything up. So I could, and the thing is, I could have chosen myself to do every interview, because if that was that kind of person, but God didn't allow me to do that. He allowed me to give these interviews so I could sit here and say, yeah, I did it. But I chose to choose someone else to do these interviews. There was a Key from up the block. There was there were so many other people that did the interviews. But in retrospect, understanding I was the person that controlled, Ed and I were the people that controlled who does the interviews. And I could have been like, no, I'm going to do it. But I knew that there's people for that. There's talent for that. This is what they do, and that's what they should do.
Could we stay on that for 1 second? I think that's really significant. So I remember, for me, one of the things that took me a while, I'm only going to speak about, I'm not speaking about me for any other reason than I share this with other people from other companies. I remember it took me a while to find the confidence to trust the fact that I could defer, I could offer to others, that it took me longer than it should have. And it's one of those things, it's one of my regrets, especially early on, is that I felt as if I was so, God, it's awful to say, I was so afraid that I wasn't good enough that I would hold on to opportunities. And so to think of you, that you were afraid of so many things, running from a Girl Scout, opportunity, to having these opportunities to talk to world famous talent. Decades later, they're even more world famous, but they were big then. And to think that you had the bravery, I guess that's the word I want, the bravery, for somebody who's saying how afraid they were, that you had the bravery and the confidence in yourself to offer that to other people. And I just think that's the coolest, because I got there, but it took me longer than it should have. And one of the best feelings in the world is when you're able to do that for somebody. It's one of the best, most gratifying things in the world. So kudos to you for knowing that at an early age, that, as you said, there were people for that. I can offer that to you. I can offer that to you. So just, it's a wonderful trait that you had. And look, here you are. And it's like I said, so it's like you were giving people opportunity. Folks, I was able to be at the reunion for WGTW. So decades later, and the station was sold, and that was great. And meaning for the owner, not so great necessarily for the people that were there, but understandable and all that, But what was that like when you will go to the reunion rather than the end of it, right? I mean, the reunion all those years later. So there's an anniversary celebration, not just for the station, but for Urban Expressions, the program. And it was very smart to tie them both together, because they're both very much interconnected. So, the people, the show, the reputation, all that stuff. What was that like for you to pull that off, that reunion?
Oh man, it meant the world to me. Like you said, WGTW TV 48, we get, you talking about starts. I personally would not be where I am if it wasn't for Dorothy Brunson and her contribution to this world, and her son, Ed Brunson. They gave me an opportunity like none other. One of the things that I regretted was not leaning on Dorothy Brunson as much as she said I could. I wanted to be the young girl trying to prove herself. I can do it. When I had a person who was the first African-American woman in the nation to own a station, I didn't lean on her enough. So bringing us all back together, to me now, my mission is a little deeper. I want to show her that I want to show her that I'm sorry that I didn't. I want to be a success because I had her in my in my face. She was right there. Like I could touch her. Like I had access to her, and I didn't utilize her as much. So bringing everybody back together to pay homage to her, to launch her foundation, the Dorothy E. Brunson Foundation, that in itself was major for me because, like I said, she was there. She was the first. Who else are you going to ask? How do you do this? If you don't ask her. Right. And now we're in the stage of coaching and mentors. And it's like, wait a minute. I had a mentor right there. And all I did was get on her nerves. And that's quite frankly what I did. Get on her nerves.
But what I'll add, though, is you get chances. So you took that learning experience and did something with it. That's one of the things I do feel good about for myself, not to pat myself on the back, but it's more what I do feel relieved about is I realized I was still at WGTW at the time, but it was years, like, you know what I mean? When I finally figured it out, get the best people and let them shine. You know what I mean? It was like, it's so now it's really important for me to do that. So I am really good at going back and beat myself up over things. I'm better than I should be. But what you realize, though, is it's like, so you could do something with that information. And I think if she was looking down, and folks, there's a great chance I wouldn't be doing this, because the very first job that I got in regards to using my voice, not the sales, was at WGTW TV. So I did a couple of promo commercials they were sports related, and we're doing college basketball and all that sort of thing. And they used my voice for the promo announcement. And it wasn't like it was good or bad or whatever. I just remember how it made me feel. I just remember the surge of energy that went through me as it was going on, And so that stayed with me, because the rush that I got, and it was like, it wasn't even the feedback. And that's what I've come to learn. It was the rush that I got. And so that was the very first, and I used to, I couldn't stand the sound of my voice. So when I heard it, right? And it was the very first time when I heard it played back on camera. And I'm like, oh, that's not bad. That'll work. But it wasn't the feedback. It was the opportunity. So for me, the thing that I feel so great about being at that reunion, that reminder, is that it's like, I wasn't getting hired by anybody else back then, at that time. I had applied to every other television and radio station in the market. And the only job I had gotten prior, it was at a radio station in Atlantic City. And so if it wasn't for WGTW and Dorothy Brunson, I wouldn't have had a 30-year career. And so these are the things I think about, which is like when you talked about, even in that video, kicking fear out, I really also believe it's the people that, even if they're not talking at you all day, like you said, I wish I had used, Dorothy Brunson further. She was providing opportunities to allow you to stand on your own 2 feet that probably no one else was going to. I'll speak for me, not for you. I'll just speak for me. I got to do things that, and then because I did them, I got the chance to do them again and again and again and again. But the first time is the time that's the hardest. And I don't know that I would have ever gotten that. So I love that sense. It's not even walking down memory lane. It's just a reminder of what you can do when someone is kind enough to give you the opportunity, generous enough to give you the opportunity. And then, Shelly, for you then pull all of that. And now I want to go forward in regards to that sense of, as you said, now I have to do this on my own. When you came to that realization, I got to do this on my own. Time for me, to forge my own brand. You had all of these things going on. So what's it like for you? Like, you host a radio show. You've guessed it everywhere, but I'm going to focus on the hosting stuff more, because I just think that's where I see, that's where I really see you shine. And I lied. I want to go to something that I think is fun as hell, and that you're going to do another episode on Christmas Eve, which is the single on Saturday night on a Saturday night talk show. Talk to me about where, not necessarily the episode, but how did that get played out in your head and then delivered in regards to an actual television and live event? How's it go? Like what, you know?
The main thing was Urban Expressions was, when I'm a fast forward, go back and then fast forward. So when the TV station was sold, it was at a time where I had broken my ankle, couldn't walk, couldn't move, couldn't work, didn't have anything, right? Mm-hmm. So then we took the show to another platform, mm-hmm. right? Then you had to learn a whole other thing. Then it was mine exclusively. I was the executive producer, which is a big feat in itself. So I came from being an intern at WGTW to being the executive producer in 2004. So now that was a whole life lesson right there. But then I started to realize once it came to 2013, I realized like, oh my goodness, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I started to think about I've been doing the same thing for a good long time. and I was thinking, and I just prayed. I prayed and I asked God, like, I need something next. What's next for me? Mm-hmm. And it gave me the whole idea. God gave me the whole idea. He said, it was a young lady on Urban Expressions. Her name was Jade Alston. She wrote the song, Single on a Saturday Night. And he said, ask her for her song. Ask her, could they sponsor? Ask her, could her management come in and help me with the first episode of Single on a Saturday Night in 2012? And they said yes. Yes, they said yes. Our theme song is her song. They sponsored the whole beginning, the whole, like, everything. I didn't have to. So I learned sponsorship.
I didn't know that they sponsored. I didn't know. Wow.
They did. Wow. They sponsored the whole, because when it comes down to TV, you have to pay for the production, you have to pay for things, and they sponsored the beginning of it, and they gave me the song, sponsored the beginning, and that's where Single on a Saturday Night came from. It was her song. Mm-hmm. So it's basically still legacy. It's still Urban Expressions legacy. And it's still Urban Expressions to me. It's still a part because we're still using the same crew. Still Howard. It's the same. It's the same. It's Urban Expressions 2.0 with a single twist.
Same team. But talk about, I think it's fun. I think in this era of reality shows, of the energy of reality shows, of controversy, of kind of in your face I'm sorry, let me take out kind of the in your face communications, but the humor and the energy too. It's like, and you often do this in front of a live audience. On location, right?
Location. Yeah. Right. That was the thing when he said it was the goal was to do it at a restaurant, whatever restaurant it is, because we know that we like to eat. We know that we like entertainment. So it's really an experience. So it's at a restaurant. It's with karaoke afterwards. So we talk and then we do karaoke and it's an experience. And we just recently moved to a new location, which is Miller's Ale House on Columbus Boulevard, which is a
massive.
It holds a lot of people. Right. What an opportunity. What an opportunity to really shine and do what we need to do. So I'm excited about Single on a Saturday because clearly I've been single on a Saturday for this whole.
Well, by the way, me too. Oh, me too. So you had on one of your years ago, I just interviewed him on my podcast. This is Jay Duran, the culture event. He was on one of the earlier episodes I remember seeing. I'm like, oh my God, there's Jay Duran. So shout out to Jay if you're listening to this as well too. I love the fact that you made it the word experience. That's to me, like you talk about breaking past barriers and that sort of thing. But you just said something real fast, and I love that one more time, you put your own personal spin, stamp, you put yourself out front when you say, hey, I've been single, blah, blah, blah. And, it's like for that, I can come up, right. You know what I was thinking, like in terms, like just as we're speaking, it's like, my God, you've turned like your fear and vulnerability into your own superpower, which I think is really, really cool. That it's like you couldn't look at you, I couldn't, and think anything that resembles fear or afraid. but always real. So do you get the satisfaction as you go of realizing that you just keep knocking down hurdle after hurdle after hurdle after hurdle? Do you still get energized from that?
I do, because I tell people this story because there's a lot of people you think I'm an introvert by nature, period.
Okay.
I'm an introvert by nature, and in my platform as a coach,
Right.
The goal is to talk to introverts and solve the problem of introverts because I have done it. I've had to knock down so many, even when it came down to beginning single on a Saturday night. God told me I had to be the host, but the moment I got up on the panel, I turned to the person next to me, which was a man. His name was Daydon Talbert, and I said, I can't do it. Take over, be the host. I can't do it. I couldn't do it. It was
wow.
I was sitting there. I sat next to him, but as you know, the person saying, "Hey, this is the show," he had to do it because I once again, I allow fear to stop me. So we do the show, we get through the show, and it was a heated show. That first one was very heated because he insulted all of us, telling us why we were single and why we didn't look the part. And maybe if we looked like this other person who was my friend, if we looked like her, then we wouldn't be single. That it went like that. It went just like that. So then it got heated, and then I did speak up at that point.
And thank God for that.
Then it was heated. Then I spoke up, and then they and everyone said if he comes back, they'll never come back. So then I had to be the host. So I had to do what God told me to do because He said if they said if he comes back, they're not coming. And so I had to once again.
There's no show. So
there's no show. So since then, I have done this show. There's no fear there. There's no fear in that show at all. That had gone. That's gone. That is so gone. Like I didn't realize how much I love a microphone.
So do you, from that platform specifically, and I love that you say that, how much you love a microphone, can you recall a favorite episode or a time that just was more memorable for you? And I don't necessarily mean highest rated or I'm just saying for you that you're like, oh my God, we're doing something here.
Wow, the most memorable episode. I can honestly say I always go back to the first one, but I will say that's memorable.
That's memorable
because it cemented everything.
Right.
Now, if I go to this latest episode that it was how about our 10 year anniversary? Not necessarily the episode, the fact that the 10-year anniversary, which we just celebrated, they did it. They surprised me. I know it was 10 years, but I was just going to gloss over the fact that it's been 10 years. But they had it set up in like a banquet. They had little they had things on the table with little centerpieces with balloons, flowers, cards, and they inboxed everybody who I'd ever interviewed, anybody I talked to. They inboxed everybody and they came out. So it wasn't necessarily what happened on the show. It was my team, the family. We're a family. So the family that came together and surprised me. Well, it was a cake. The cake was humongous. It was like, and the thing is, they surprised me. And there was no inclination that this was happening. So behind the scenes, this is all happening. They're inboxing people. And all of a sudden I see these people. I was like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here? And they're like, we're here to celebrate. And they made it. I mean, like I said, from the flowers to the cake to the looking like a banquet hall. It looked like it was so elegant, and everybody was kind of matching, and we didn't even know it was blue because blue is the 10-year. It was incredible. It just showed me like I wanted to give up. I was thinking about giving up the show before we came back. Believe it or not. I was thinking, we'll let it go. Did that help?
Did that help? I'm hoping.
It helped.
Okay.
It helped tremendously, man. It gave me, it fed the fire of this is what it's supposed to be. Because I'm thinking COVID was a hard time. Like, meaning we weren't.
I want to ask you about that. How do you navigate that during COVID?
Whoa. it's a show. So when you say it's an experience, so we weren't made to be in the box. The single on the Saturday people weren't made to be in the box. So you can see us in this on the Zoom, and I see people falling asleep, and I'm saying, okay, I'm not doing this anymore on Zoom. Mm-hmm. So that's when I just let it go, and I did different. Of course, I kept interviewing people on the platforms, but I said, we won't get everybody together. We're used to being out. We're used to being together. Mm-hmm. When the moment you see someone fall asleep in the eyes, and they go dipping in the screen, I was like, oh yeah, no, we're gonna stop. So I was thinking, well, maybe I'll just let it go. I was like, all right, we won't let it go, but each one at a time. Can we come back? Can we come back? Can we come back? And I'm like, all right, we'll come back. We'll do the one. But they just made the one so memorable that I'm like, okay, you want this. And I'm grateful that something that we put together, something that God put together, it's like, wow, this is people want it. And I wanted to keep wanting it. And I want them to keep coming. I want them to, and I want to show this new location that I wanted 100 people and 70 people showed up. Yeah.
See, 70. I'm going to say this. So someone might say, to me feel like that if you hit that mark, like you set lofty goals, right? So you are right. Because in a way, somebody could come like push back to you and say, well, how are you thinking you're getting 100 people to show up? So you've set lofty goals all the way through, whether it was generating the revenue from Urban Expressions. Like this is a real quick aside, so I don't lose my own train of thought. But it was more, I'll never forget you're calling on major like Coca-Cola so you were not shy in terms of how you're going about it. So you've always set like these pretty aggressive goals. So you set this goal of 100 people, right? 100 people are going to show up and 70 were there. This is a mindset question. Were you satisfied or dissatisfied?
I was satisfied.
Damn,
absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. 70 people showing up for our first day. I was extremely
I would be petrified if it was me that 0 would be showing up. You know what I mean? So that you got 70 people. That's freaking awesome. And you're going to pull off on the day before Christmas. I'm so excited about this because I feel like you're doing a live episode on December the 24th, right? At this major, massive venue. And then I think about all of the emotions that often get tied to this time of year, right? It's, and so, and folks, by the way, you'll be hearing this episode after. So I'm going to hope for a follow-up in regards to how well this went. But for me, I think like it could be very well needed because you're expected to do or be or act a certain way. And I think there's a lot, like I said, like Christmas is one of my favorite times of the year, but it's certainly not like in terms of from a romantic it hasn't been in years. So it's like, okay. And then you see the perfect couples and you see the Hallmark shows and, and everybody looks exact same, and they often don't look like me or you know what I mean? It's like, so I love the fact that you're putting this literally a live event that's going on. I think it's a really cool thing to do. I think it's very generous too,
Our date for the show is always every 4th Saturday. So it just happened at the 4th. Right. The 4th Saturday fell on the 24th. And since it sold on the 24th, what else are we doing? We're single. I personally don't have any children to wrap gifts for. And it's like, all right, well, it's a celebration. It's a Christmas party.
Yes.
It's a thing. We're like, we're doing this like, and it's like, who else would you be with? We love each other. We're family. It's like being with your family and we're going to have fun. We sing. So it is one of the things I just hope I didn't put a number on this. So let me put a number on it. I just want it. We had 70. So I'll be happy with the 70 again. We could do 75. How about we go? 75?
There you go. Right. Oh, now I said like my old sales manager, think 10% would be 7. So it would be 77 would be a 10% bump.
77. There you go. 77.
Right?
I'll go for the 77. And I'm just like, once we're there, I'm just going to be happy that we're actually here. What else am I doing on Christmas Eve?
But guess what? I would position that even differently in terms of my mind. You're saying, what else would I be doing? It's like this is something that sounds like you could run to rather than, well, what else am I doing? It's like you could run to this because it's so, like I said, it is an experience. It will be a highly memorable one. And it'll be highly inspirational.
And it's fashion. We didn't just say, hey, here we're going to talk. And I know some people attention spans are so we have fashion. We have a 88 denim fashion show. We have performances. So I'm making it like it's Urban Expressions 2.0 with a single twist. So I'm putting all the elements that was Urban Expressions into it because it's all the things that I love. I enjoy. I love fashion. I love karaoke, man. Yeah.
All right, so when you said I love the mic earlier. So when they hand you the mic and it's karaoke, who do you typically choose to sing to?
My actual go-to song.
Yeah, your go-to.
My go-to song is Prince, but I don't sing it every time because it's not.
Which one? That's all. That covers a lot of ground. Which one?
Guess what I say? This song is "Darling Nikki."
I remember.
It's a pretty deep song, so I don't do it. But if like I went to Chicago when I worked with the big box outlet. Well,
Right.
So when I worked for the big box outlet, one of the stores was in Chicago.
I forgot that they were in Chicago. I know of who you mean.
You said the big box outlet.
Absolutely. But I was gonna say I forgot they were in Chicago. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was able to travel to Chicago. So they had this famous karaoke spot. And I go in and I'm going in with Valerie Fiordaliso.
Absolutely right.
I went in with Valerie and she said, "Are you going to get up there?" I most certainly am going to get up there. and I said, "I'm going to my song, which is Darling Nikki." And she recorded it too. So I'm going in there, I'm going to doing Darling Nikki. And the crowd was going, wow. And I said, woo! It was so amazing. So that's my go-to song when I'm at, because I know the words. I don't know why it is my song, but I memorized the words back when I was in like young. Like I don't know why, but that's my song. But Shelly, I love
that makes me happy, and it just because I see your energy surge. Hey, let me ask, like, and so the artist that inspires, who inspires you now? Like in terms of like that you not that you want to emulate or imitate your own person, but who inspires you or helps to propel you forward?
Believe it or not, I am so into the speaking, the coaching, and everything. So I would have to say David D. Simons, Dr. Delatoro, and Dr. Everybody's doctors, and Dr. Tracy Timberlake.
Yeah.
They are my go-to coaches, challenges, especially David D. Simons, the King of Social Media. Man, that all goes back to the big box retail too. Everything ties back together to even WGTW. All of this ties back together. He has he saw my skills and where I was just sleeping on my social media skills, sleeping to the utmost. He brought them up, brought them out, and he's got me thinking I'm an expert in this social media thing. And it's not, and it's not that I'm not. Like I really do understand the dynamics and what I teach on. And it really was him that brought it out. And Dr. Delatoro, he is the whole speaking expert and helps you to monetize your speaking. And I went to a conference. David D. Simons, King of Social Media, let me go to a conference in Florida, Clearwater, Florida.
Oh, I know it. Home of the Phils, spring training.
Clearwater, Florida. And this conference was filled with, when I say possibility, it allows you to think in your mind that you can make $1 million in a day if you believe it, if you do it. And the thing is, my mind expanded. It's like, I have everything it takes to make $1 million in a day if I want to do it. So this was what King of Social Media, Dr. Delatoro, being in that environment did for me. Fear, they let you break through every fear. They had fear exercises that were amazing, meaning where you had to get up and do a trust thing where you fall back onto people. But
sure, the trust fall.
But I don't mean I don't mean your regular just standing on the floor falling back. I mean standing high and falling back. Yeah.
Ooh.
I mean,
Yikes.
we kick through boards like a you know how like you hit the board or you kick the board. We kick through the board. We put arrows in our necks and broke the arrows with our necks.
Ooh.
But my thing is,
that wasn't directed to you. It was I feel
you
literally, and I'm like, oh.
You thinking you're putting an arrow on your neck? You're like, what's going to happen? But the thing is, it changed my life.
Okay.
The whole experience changed my life and let me know how possible certain things are. So when I reflect on it, it brings it up in my spirit again. It brings it up like it's possible. Anything you want is possible. And fear has no place in my life anymore. Fear. And I think all those things compounded makes it, when I get up on the stage and put a microphone in my hand now, it's like, yes, this microphone is mine.
So do you think when you said that last public speaking engagement you just had where you felt no fear for the first time, do you think that's why?
I think it had a whole lot to do with it. I think that it just allowed me to know and just be clear of what I am and to really start walking in the gifts and understanding what my gifts are. Because for a long time because we did so much, like everything we did at WGTW was first times. First time for this, first time for that, first time on TV, first time hosting this, first time doing everything was the first time. We were before the social media came out, we were doing it. So we were the first. There was nobody I could go to for a mentor to find out how to do anything. So it was the first time. So I didn't know which I did so much that I know which individual gift was my actual gift and what I was doing. But now I'm clear. I'm clearer. And so that helps me to know that I know when I get up on that stage, I'm like, yeah, this is it. And then I did I spoke for kids, like it was a teenagers. They were closing exercise for one of their events. And I had no fear then either. And I was just like, why? And I'm trying to figure out to myself why I didn't have any fear. It wasn't like I didn't have, and the fear was you're not good enough. Used to be you're not good enough.
I can certainly relate to that one. Yeah.
This is not you. This is not, it was the kind of fear. But when I stood up there at the closing exercise, the graduation exercise, and I stood up there with the teenagers looking at me intently. You know, it's how they say they paid attention. But of course, I led with Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Well, you have to play to your strengths or make it relatable. Let me ask one more thing, which I'm dying. Like I said, I'm so damn we're communicating right now. But I'm going to also ask you this for yourself, that you were just saying from a world of firsts. Now you know what your strengths are, and you've been really, and I think this is awesome, leaning into the coaching as well as the public speaking. What do you see for yourself next in regards to either more in that direction, bigger, more? Like, what do you see in terms of where you want to take yourself next year?
My goal is this book.
Talk to me, please. Talk to me. Right. Back from the episodes. I want to hear this.
So the goal, during COVID, I interviewed you for the book. Yep. It was supposed to be an ebook, was supposed to be my lead magnet, and then to lead you into what I was doing in my full-length book.
Right.
I didn't finish it.
Okay. So
plain and simple, I didn't finish it. So my goal is to get the book out, and the book will be that calling card to get me on stages, to be in an island speaking, to be on. Go in multiple places all around speaking, especially in hot, warm climates. Like I want to one day speak in Clearwater, Florida. I want to one day speak for the Essence Festival. I want to be booked, not just speak. I want them to pay my airfare, my hotel, and book me to speak. Those are the things I want. And it's all based off of me getting out of my way and finishing this book that you remember how long ago?
I 100%. That's easy. Don't get old. And that's because I say 2 years and then that could have been 7 because it's like, that's what I'm saying. Don't get old because I just say 2 years. And then somebody says, oh, John, that was in 2015.
No, it was 2 years. You were correct.
It was 2 years solid that it was an ever. But here's why I love this, because so I am also, this is from the guy that, and I say it out loud because it's like, otherwise I just won't do it. Which is like, I say it out, like it's important for me to just say it out loud that I am writing a book, and I curated a course, and I am writing a book. And so we can help each other, because to me, there's things that I'm learning. So that conversation 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't agree with 100% of what I said back then. You know what I mean? In terms of in relation to what I know. I think what you just said is absolutely cool, because you've got different information, you've got different confidence, you've got more to share. And so I believe in my heart that sense of patience will be worth it, especially to the reader. But I love your intention of having, in essence, the calling card. It's needed. If you're speaking on stages, they need more than a bio. They need more than a bio, and they need more than, unless it's a direct testimonial from Jay-Z. Well, then they'll book you. But otherwise, they need the calling card, so the book will be great. And I'm excited for you. I'm really excited for you. Shelly Williams, I am over the moon happy that you showed up for me today. I'm crazy grateful to you for everything so far. First off, thank you. I acknowledge all of this, and I really acknowledge your talent and your drive.
I thank you for having me. I thank you for this reunion. It is one of those things that you like, man, the fact that we're doing it, and we're both pursuing the dreams that we have, even though we started out in this one, but we came to what we're good at. You're good at what I'm good at. We're living out our passions, and we've run the same circles, and so the same people I know, and it's like we ran the same circles, and it's amazing to know that it really did start with one person, and we wouldn't, Dorothy Brunson. That's it.
I don't know you if it wasn't for that. I'm probably not doing this if it wasn't for Dorothy Brunson. And so when you said it all goes back, it's the relationships, folks. It's what you learn. You didn't have to learn everything. My errors often are, I need everything to be perfect. And then you just reminded me, Shelly, and everyone listening and watching, which is, it does have to be perfect. All of those first times really mattered, because that's what gets you to move, and that's what gets you to go. I know your website, it will be on all of the links. What are the ways that you prefer people to find you? I know you're a social media guru, so your Instagram profile, your Facebook profile, we'll have those there, right? In terms of the ways to get to you.
Yeah. I'm always going to say Instagram at Shelly Williams, because the goal is 100%. I love social media. And then, of course, if I was a teacher, I'd be teaching you that, all right, you're on Instagram, but then I would want you to get you in one of my funnels to either take my grab my free lead magnet, which will be the course. So that's where we're going with it. But follow me on Instagram at Shelly Williams, and I'm excited for 2023. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited that this right here is happening right now. I appreciate you, John Duffin. Like I said, I watched you.
I'm thrilled. Honest to God, that means the world. You don't know how much that means to me. I am so happy that one more round of reunion, and folks, you just heard another episode. I'm almost losing it, of Your Message Received. Your Message Received, again, is your home for the best in authenticity and the best voices, including Shelly Williams. I am so glad you folks showed up for us today. Keep watching, keep liking, keep sharing, and we will be back soon. Have a wonderful day, all. Bye.
Bye.
And now, making its way across the finish line, Your Message Received has been a production of Duffin Media.